because this boundary is so protective of you, it's also keeping out that deeper sense of love and security. We've all come here with a divine purpose, traveling on a stream of cosmic dust from the stars into our mother's wombs, born into this precious life. It is no accident that you are here, my love, on earth, in this moment, in this body. You are here longing to find your place, to align with your purpose, to embody your passions and to live into the dreams of your heart. Yet so often we get caught, suspended in the tangle of life, not able to move forward, not able to find solace and comfort in a world that has forgotten the truth of our existence. As we begin to remember, as we peel back the layers, as we come together to uncover our unique gifts and reconnect with our authentic selves, we are able to see another way of being, a new possibility, a different life waiting to be lived. I have experienced on this complicated and wild journey of life that when we connect with the story of our soul, it will show us the magic of this life that we have been missing. It will open a window into the very heart of who we truly are, of who we came here to be, and gives us answers to our ever-asking why. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the show. As always, you know I love being here with you, and we are back with our live episodes after all my traveling in the summer, which was just really incredible. And I encourage you to follow your heart, do the things you love, know that there's always enough time, there's always enough resources, there's always a way to have more enjoyment in your life, even when all your conditioning is screaming at you that you cannot. Take a little time, do something for yourself. It changes you. Traveling changed me this summer. I'm here with some new ideas, some new ways of being, so much goodness, so much healing, so much laughter, so much connection. And I really hope to inspire you to really dig deep in your life and bring more of who you are to the world, really connect in with your authenticity, your truth, what it is that you are here to do and to do it. So Whitney is here with us today for our reading, and she is asking about a number of things, about love, career, finances, connecting with her guides. So we have a lot of really lovely and juicy topics that we connect in with through this reading. And one of my favorite, shape-shifting, and how the importance of flowing with life as our journey unfolds. We talk about the father wound and how, as women, we can end up looking for our fathers in our romantic partners. We also talk about how turbulent upbringings can cause us to put barriers up to receiving love, abundance, all the things. We're protecting ourselves essentially, and yet we're not only keeping out the bad, we're keeping out the good. We look at understanding our personal relationship with our distractions and our incessant doing. And we round out the call talking about building a relationship with your spirit guides and tips and tools that you can use to engage with your own spirit guides and to build this relationship not only with yourself, but with your soul family, with the unseen world, with all the magic of the universe that's available to us if we pause long enough to look and to listen. So I love you. Enjoy this reading with Whitney. Hi, Whitney. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sarah. It's an honor to be on the show. I want to know about love, romance. I'd like to know about my career expansion and what's ahead financially for me. And one thing that I've been working with is connecting deeper with my guides. I had one day of channeling, writing a book with my guides, and then, it feels like work to get there. So any information or guidance that you have to tune me back into my own guides, that would be really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So, a few different things there, right? As you were sharing these different parts of your life, and as you were talking about romance, there was this image of a woman holding a baby wrapped in a shawl and just cooing over her and looking at her. And then as we moved more, as you got towards the end, when you were talking about the book and that day you were channeling, I got an overwhelming sense of anxiety. Like my breath sort of became short and my heart felt painful. So I just want to share those images with you for your feedback or your, what you make of those. And then we'll kind of dive in.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you know about those images?
With the baby, I have no children, and I do have a love for my girlfriend's 5-year-old. I'm really falling in love with her. And to not be a mother and to experience falling in love with another person when it's not romantic was very fulfilling. I don't know if that's exactly that particular wrapped in the detail that you gave, but that's what came up for me. And then the anxiety is probably because I have a dash of ADD. So when I do find a topic or a vein to write on or get in creation with, it tends to just be that. There's nothing to pick it up and actually turn it into something tangible at this point.
And that creates sort of anxiety and nervousness in you when you think about it in that capacity.
Yeah. And, my business, I have some questions and anxiety around that. So there's pieces that could be from a few things, the anxiety.
Okay. So the image of the woman with the baby is wanting attention first. And I get the sense that it's a grandmother holding a baby. And what do you know of your grandmother?
No, my mother was not communicating with her mom for a lot of my relationship with her. I do remember meeting my grandmother. I have a lot of addiction in the family, and my mother was raised in foster care, and her two other sisters were as well. 1940s was a different time, and her mother did not raise those three girls herself continually.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of connection with the family. I have a soul family that I've created. I don't have a lot of connection with my blood family because of my childhood.
How much work have you done around healing that separation and abandonment?
Tremendous. 22 years. I've been sober from the spirit of alcohol for 24 years.
So it feels like that we seem to be going down this romance thread is the way that it's showing right now. And this part of you, right, that is engaging with the possibility of motherhood through another child that you know and awakening that part, that love within you. And I feel this image is coming up from your ancestors because inside of all that pain, there was this love that was there for you, but it just wasn't able to reach you. It just bumped up against so much pain, addiction, all the things, right? And there's so much anger I feel in there. And it's like how I see you is you've created this beautiful boundary of, okay, that's over there and I'm over here. And I've worked it and I've unraveled so much of it. Like I can feel that. Yet it's like there's a part of it there's a forgiveness part and an allowing of that love that is still there sitting, waiting for you to flood in. And it doesn't mean you have to be in touch with them. It doesn't mean that you have to have any kind of relationship with them. I'm not saying that. It's just that this barrier that you've put up, if there's a way for you to let it be a little bit more permeable for the love that is sitting there. So, what happens when I share that with you?
Well, my mother passed away 24 years ago. And I have a saying, if my mother hadn't died, I wouldn't have gotten to live. And her mother passed away when I was very young. I did have an 18-year relationship with a man who I was very much in love with. But when you said that it's not permeable, there was times after that relationship where I realized I couldn't let it all in. I couldn't let him love me. That control to safety, security, there is aspects of that that I can tap into that feel relevant and on point.
Yeah, because our energetic field, right? It's our body, our energy body. Its primary purpose is to evolve and keep you alive. And so it's going to do many different things in order to keep you alive. Now, that sense of being alive, it gets distorted when the energy body is the one that's giving the meaning to what living means, rather than you as a soul and your heart saying, no, this is truly what living is, being fully alive. So, this beautiful way that you have protected yourself energetically is some of what is happening, right? As you saw in this past relationship, that is having you choose people that are okay not being on the inside of that boundary. They're like, yeah, it's okay out here. I'm fine with that. I don't want to get on the inside because that's too much for me as well. And so, because this boundary is so protective of you, it's also keeping out that deeper sense of love and security. And it's not just of others. Like I know we were chatting a little bit before, and you have this beautiful love for yourself that's emerged through all of this. It's like there's something deeper underneath where you're still not okay with certain things. And then that sets up, I see it like a spiral, and it comes up from your root chakra and it spirals around your body. And it says anything but that. Like you can come this close, but not this close. So, what do you know about that?
You know, I choose female friends that are very nurturing and mothering, and I make friends very easily. I have friends that I'm extremely close with and trust. There's a lot of trust and safety testing that I do with women because it wasn't safe as a child around women. I am very conscious about who I let in my circle. But when someone is trusted and they are safe, I do let them in. And I am very close with a handful of incredible women. Most of them are either intuitive or coaches, therapy or so I do have women who've done their work in my life. Mostly those are my circle. When it comes to the masculine, I have a bit of limerence with, well, the choosing of relationships that are unavailable. So I've had someone say what you just said to me before, which is maybe you're unavailable. So my unavailability is attracting unavailable men. And I want someone available. On the surface, I crave love. I want to be in that deep, connected, total chakra match of a relationship. And I feel him coming. I feel like I'm on this journey to prepare myself. And the last one was much closer. He was a better match than the rest, but I did end that relationship. And I do normally, not always, but do the ending if it's not a healthy relationship that I can see turning into long term.
What is the thing that attracts you most to a romantic partner?
Well, this last one was the father that I've always wanted. When they love their kids, like I have a couple guy friends that are very close friends, and they're men who love their kids And when someone loves their kid, because I didn't get that as a child, and the way that the last guy I dated loved his kids, oh, he got a ladder out to go watch the sunset on the roof with his daughter. Just spending and investing time. I even told him, I'm like, you're the father I never had.
Yeah.
I want to, yeah.
The sticky part in there, and you probably already know this, right, is that you don't want a partner that's a good father. You want a partner that's a good partner to a grown woman. And as women that did not have the love of our fathers, we can get really caught in that place of the child in us is the one who is choosing.
Yes. I have a nickname for her. I'm not going to say it I don't think you want me to say it, but yes.
Yeah. Right. So that part of you that reaches out to attract, right, that person coming in is coming still from an unhealed wound. And there's so many layers to these core wounds, right? When we have disrupted relationships with our fathers, what can happen is we're actually like wearing parts of our fathers' power dynamics, parts of their energetic anatomy, because we were so broken from them that our system like incorporated that into our wound. And so it still lives in our wound. And until you pull that out, until you really get intimate energetically with that wound, it's like your dad is kind of still choosing your partners as well. What happens when I share that?
I don't really know my father. I only knew him till the age of 14. He was absent and emotionally unavailable. I found out later the reason why his twin brother beat his kids. And my assumption can only be an assumption because I have a texting relationship with him is that's why he was emotionally unavailable because he didn't know how to be that father who didn't repeat the patterns and the behaviors that his father created with him. So I'm not sure that that particular story of my father choosing because I don't align with my father in so many ways. I really wish him well. I have really forgiven him. It's his wife, my stepmother, and my mother who really created, in my experience, the deep wounds. However, since we're talking about finding men, it does make sense. I can't see, I'm trying to put those two together for my father choosing my person. And I just feel like this last relationship I had was closer to something that I actually would want long term than I've had in 7 years. And he was a great father. And that's part of it.
Yeah, the deeper we go, right, the more work we do, we get closer. We shed a lot of what in our younger years was really acute and was really up. When I say that your dad is choosing, I'm talking about the wound that was created by your father leaving still holds some of his energy. That energy is then mingled into your choosing with your little girl.
I can see that.
Right? Like your dad being gone and the little girl grieving him and not understanding. Together, you're choosing somebody to fill that space.
That I'll grieve about and have an addiction to being abandoned or rejection. I have found that. So that does give explanation to that pattern for sure. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. And these patterns are easy to clean up, right? Like this isn't something that you now have to go and do 5 years of therapy for. It's like you've done so much, right? This is an energetic pattern and your awareness is now on it. And you just bring in some new tools and you get to clean up this wound that's there on the energetic level. You've done a lot of the mental, emotional part. You're just down in the energy world now.
And how would you do that? Do you have any tools or steps, or is there a podcast that you've recorded that you would recommend I listen to?
Yeah, we can definitely chat about some of those tools for sure. After the show, we can chat a little. Yeah. And so I see this part, right? It's like, it feels like almost like the bottom has dropped out, is the sensation that I get, where this part at this time just got defeated. Like, we have no control over this. We have no way around this. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, essentially, your family just was all gone, and you were left to navigate the world by yourself.
Yes. I've often said to myself, I was supposed to have a sister that I could trust. I was supposed to have a father and a family like everyone else gets to have. And I didn't get that. So I've recreated that through my friends. But I do agree with what you just said. I used to feel shorted, but now I look at it as a blessing because I get to choose the people who I want to have close to me.
Yeah. And I want to just take a moment to validate, though, that part of you, right? That you did deserve to have family, have a sister, have a mother and father that loved you and supported you and encouraged you, protected you. Like, we come into this world with karma, right? So some of these things we're working through our karma. It's just the nature of the universe and souls on a journey. And we've gotten to this place in our evolution where we're existing beyond what karma is intended to show us. We're in horrible situations that we're not intended. Like, people should not treat us this way and do these things to us. And it's okay to acknowledge that and validate that within ourselves. And then find that place where we have the compassion and the forgiveness. But I do really value in my own journey and people that I work with, like, I see the power of really validating, like, yeah, that was fucked up. Excuse my language. But it was, right? Like, we didn't deserve that. And then from that place, we rebuild.
Yeah.
Where would you like to go from here?
So the romance will be healed and repaired when I clear that energetic space. I can feel him coming in. I've been told he's coming in. So I am acknowledging that clarity. And I've been told similar things about there's a block. So thank you. I appreciate that.
And to validate you, sorry with that, just a moment to interrupt you, to validate that, I do see somebody like it's over on your left side, like just hanging outside of this permeable or non-permeable frame that you have. So yes, I do see that also, but it's like he's just kind of standing there. Like, if he smoked, he'd be smoking a cigarette, but he's like, no, I don't smoke. But it's like that kind of energy, like, oh, I'm kind of just like passing the time waiting. Like, is she going to do this or what?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that feels good. So let's stay on this thread because then the guides would come in. If I don't understand how to use the guides, that energetic piece that we're talking about, can my guides help me move through this so that I can clear it? I would like to have a better communication and connection with my guides because I feel like I make incredible decisions. I'm very proud. I was thinking about this the other day. I have been making really good decisions, including the 18-year relationship I had. He's a great human being. I made a great decision. I am very fortunate. So I do feel that my guides are helping me through the decisions. It's when it comes to dropping into the career choices and the anxiety that you talked about earlier, I have around that. It's a 22-year coaching career that I've loved, and I want to expand beyond it. I want to continue that part of it. I don't want to have other people tell me, well, you've got to let it go to let the other thing in. And I'm like, why? Multiple streams of income is super popular. There's no reason why I should have to walk away from something that I love and that I built. I want to open up my gates to a fourth revenue stream. And I kind of suspect my guides have got the secrets to it and I want to figure out how to get it from them. So I don't know how.
Yeah, as I feel into that, right? I see it's an old image. Like I see a trying to decide, like, it's trying to see if it's a man or a woman. It feels non descriptive of a gender, a person in robes with their head covered, and they're by a river, and there's steps down into the river, stone, kind of olden day type feeling of somebody sitting by the river, honoring the river, right? Giving offerings to the river is the sort of feeling, being really connected in that regard. And when I connect in with this to what you're saying, it's like this journey of taking these steps down into this flow of life that is yours. And it's not determined, like it's not a specific thing. It's this idea of really being in that flow of life. And I don't see it as like you have to give up something in order to get something. I see it more as you really connecting in with what are these steps? How am I offering my heart to the world? What brings me the most joy in that place? And how am I using these steps to get closer to the flow of that river? Like it feels like that's life force. That's just all the goodness, right, of life. When we step into that, I know it's kind of that proverbial, we step into the river and it moves us along. And so long as we get to bump up against things as we go, and you're in a transition from this place that you've created into walking across those steps into this new flow. And it feels really connected to how the world as a whole is moving out of one energy into another that's more life supportive. It's more supportive of humans, of evolution. That's the way I see it. So it's less about giving up things, but there is the idea of shape shifting. Where can you shape shift your business, your life? Because in order to create something new and make it across these steps to the river, you need life force, right? You can't burn yourself out and get too tired and have stretch yourself too thin. So it's more a shape shifting idea of your life in order to move through the steps with more ease. What does that bring up for you?
Well, first of all, I am a shapeshifter, or I am capable of witnessing shapeshifters because I've seen multiple people, three that I can think of right now, who I've witnessed shifting into different humans. Like I either can see their past lives, I'm not sure exactly what, but how I'm tying that down to what you're talking about is the creation of being a human being. Like the underlying energetic field for me is creating. And then just going from there to saying, okay, what's the next step? Like the yellow brick road and staying in the flow with the water that you talked about and allowing it, because I am generally a chaser. I'm very good at creating. I'm excellent at manifesting, but I'm a chaser, which I found out men don't like that, but women do. So, and in my career, I've been very good at doing that. So the clarity that is missing for me is the part that I've had challenges with. And I just recently realized that it's not just about the clarity, it's my self worth and my self esteem. Yeah, I built a huge business and yeah, I've been very successful on stages, doing all kinds of really exciting, fun things. And that's no longer true. No one's calling me to get me on. That's not happening anymore. And there's a part of me that I don't know if I've allowed myself to grieve it, but the shape shifting part that you're talking about, maybe I just don't really understand how to be at peace with what was and say, okay, how do I step upon that, all the work and the lessons and the learning to create the next level of business or opportunities for myself? The shape shifting, the word, I'm not clear with that. Maybe you can give me a little bit more.
Yeah, the question that's coming through is how good are you at doing nothing?
Oh, I've mastered doing. Are you suggesting I need to master being?
You and everybody on the planet. But it's so in the image, right? What, as you're talking, the part that's standing out is the person that's just sitting. They are not doing anything other than offering some flowers to the river. And shape shifting takes energy. You talked about wanting to connect with your guides. The quickest way I know to connect with my guides is to just do nothing and be quiet, because otherwise I can't hear them and I'm too busy to understand what they're saying. And so it's right, it's in this space of your being that something new can happen.
And all these questions flood in, just so you know. But what about this? But what about that? You know what I mean? So I guess it's just a deeper dive into the being and the stillness. Then the yellow brick road or the flow will appear before me. That's how I'm interpreting what you're saying.
Yeah, and you can really get curious about all those questions that suddenly fly up out of nowhere that are like, no, 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 don't you dare sit still because I need to know this. And what about this? And those are very valuable parts of you to get to know, but not to get to know to like satiate them, to be really curious about why they might be distracting you from doing nothing.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, right. So it's forming a relationship with the place inside you that exists outside of all those questions and excuses. And the way that we quiet those voices is we get to know them. We get to know when they show up, what they really are saying, right? Because they're usually are like really skilled at saying it in a way that's going to stop us, but they're not really saying the truth. And so we become really intimate with all the parts of ourselves. And we can only really do that when we're still long enough to build a relationship.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of that you will be able to trace back to that little girl. Because things show up in multiple places in our lives. And this is a part of you loving yourself more deeply, is being able to just sit with all of you more deeply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go babysit my own little girl. My girlfriend's bringing her daughter in, and I'm going to take care of her for one night and let them go out. But it sounds like I need to sit and babysit myself for a little bit, see how she's doing, get to know patterns, the voices.
Have a sleepover with her.
Yes. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, how can I support you from here?
Wow. The one last thing that's listed here was about, I mean, tapping into the guides is obvious, the book writing and having a tangible result from that intimate time, whether it's listening in on the conversations of my little girl, getting silent so that I can get downloads from my guides, and how to take those stories or the conversations and actually get them into a book, because that is a desire of mine and it has been for a long time. And I've written the start of many, many books, not from the perspective of tapping into my guides. This is my first journey with that, to my knowledge. I mean, I think we're all tapped into some degree, but this is where I'm actually intending to go into silence and make a request to get to know my guides and then have them. I think it's one. I think that's how I'm going into address the energy is one energy. So I can have one conversation, but how to move that from an idea or this passionate download into actually producing something that's going to have legs.
So there's a couple things happening here. One is you keep jumping up into your mind about it instead of saying in your heart and your body. And then the second thing is that If you think about your relationship with your guides as any relationship that you are starting, right? Like think about the way that you craft these relationships with these incredible women that you have in your life. There is a building phase. There's a getting to know them phase, a trusting them, a just hanging out for the sake of hanging out, not asking anything of them. And I see that as this relationship, as you get to know your guides, it's like first you need to just get to know them, to know who they are, and to be friends with them before you go deeper. Like, okay, now what are we creating? Right? It's like if you think about it like a partnership, you're not just going to pick somebody off the street and be like, hey, let's go build this relationship and partnership together. You're like, you don't know them.
That's brilliant.
So your guides want you to get to know them.
That was powerful. Thank you. Good metaphor for the way that I create friendships and connections in my life, because I'm extraordinary at that. And I hadn't taken that same perspective and shined it on my own family that's inside my own body and head. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I love going for walks in the woods with my guides, or running. Let's just hang out. There's no extra thing necessary, right? Just who are you? Does this feel like an okay place to land?
Absolutely. You gave so much. It's beautiful. Really. I have a lot to digest and metabolize. Sarah, you're amazing. Really beautiful.
You're amazing. We reflect each other.
Yes, absolutely.